Hi, it's Andy.
Hi, it's Dave.
Hi, it's Kirk.
Welcome to the A.D.K Rock and Metal channel. Okay, so today's video, we are going to be checking out a band called Unfathomable Ruination.
They sound fucking awesome, don't they?
If I get, luckily I'm not drunk, because if I try to say after a few beers, trying to say that band name.
Andy, you're already interested in this just based on the name alone, aren't you?
And the song is the Defying Symphony of Universal Dissonance.
Yeah.
Even more so.
Bring it on.
All right, let's go check it out.
Take a guess.
Stop in. And
Give me the guess. Go on, Andy. What genre are we going for?
Brutal technical death metal.
I'm going to have to go for dissonant death metal. That is a thing, by the way. Dave, your guess.
My guess. I know what the song is. I picked it, so I can't.
Oh, okay.
Jazz.
So it's either brutal. We've said brutal technical death metal, not technical brutal death metal, or dissonant death metal. Let's see what we end up with then.
Let's find out. Okay, Unfathomable Ruination and the Defying Symptom of Universal Dissonance. Kirk, I'm going to throw it to you, mate.
Well, I think the song title describes it perfectly. Dissonance is the opposite of melody, isn't it? Resonance. So essentially, what I've just heard there for 5 minutes is a band taking the template of that really monotone, generic, shitty genre called brutal death metal and just playing jazz chords instead of chugging down picking riffs. That was so off the scale. Oh my God, can you imagine having to listen to an album of that? I would rather have someone feed me a spider's web of dead flies tied to a chair than listen to an album of that. But there's some real innovation in this song. I don't think I've ever heard anyone try to take slam or brutal death metal and then just try to replace all those down-tuned chugging riffs just with like the most atonal, weird jazz fusion guitar. You can imagine the vocals were just atrocious. It's like you've got 4 PhD students who've come together and said, oh, let's just take a template and just put our own spin on it and make it really abstract. Oh, we need some vocals. Bring in a woman and get her to do the guttural death metal vocals. Doesn't work. I would honestly, I could not listen to an album full of that, but I can appreciate the avant-garde elements to it. That was just so off the scale. They must be doing something right because I am utterly befuddled by what I've just heard. Would I rather listen to that than that shitty, brutal death metal slam stuff? Any day, yes. But at the same time, would I rather listen to Katy Perry than that? I suspect I probably would choose Katy Perry, unfortunately.
Okay. That's a bit harsh, but all right. Okay, Andy?
I thought I was going to really enjoy this, but that sort of feeling lasted for about 5 seconds, if that. I'm glad you gave us a description of what dissonance was, Kirk, because I thought perhaps it's the way it's coming through my computer. It sounded like, to me, every half a second, the sound was dropping out for a millisecond. And you had this effect where it sounded like someone was flipping through a pack of playing cards in the front of the microphone. Yeah. That was the guitar tone, wasn't it? We're going for that pack of cards shuffling tone today, boys, because that was almost unlistenable. I really enjoyed the vocals, actually. I thought that was excellent. I didn't want to misgender anybody. I thought it was a young lady fronting the band, and I thought she was brilliant. She needs to ditch these guys and get into a, you know, more sort of traditional slam technical death metal band that you'd absolutely hate, Kirk. But I thought her vocals were brilliant. I enjoyed the video, simple but effective performance video in a sort of warehouse. I enjoyed the lighting, the story element, although very minimalistic in content, didn't really tell us much. It was a guy standing on the coast, windswept, holding a necklace in his hand, considering what he's going to do. That just kept reverting back to the same shot. So that was just sort of filling time, really, and it went on far too long as well. I don't know what that was. that was probably 50% longer than it needed to be. But yeah, I couldn't listen to an album of that, but I thought the vocalist was great.
Okay. For me, right, so video-wise, the video's fine, but just for 5 minutes, 40 seconds, it got boring. I got really bored of it very quickly because there was trying to be a story element, but it was a lot of the same sort of shots repeated. So it just didn't do much for me. I don't mind performance stuff, but with the amount of flashing lights and stuff like that, I just lost interest in the actual video itself. So I focused more on the music. It does sound like Cookie Monster on vocals. I just thought she was going to start going Cookie down the microphone at one point. But I actually thought she did a great job for what she was trying to achieve. I think she's got a good vocal performance for that style. It's not a style I listen to. Now, I have this saying, there's a good 3-minute song in there. There's 5 good 3-minute songs in there, is what they've actually got, because they've got so many different riffs and tempo styles in there. What they needed to do is actually strip them out. It's almost like they went into a writing session and just decided to use every single person's suggestion and went, fuck it, we'll throw them all in the song.
We've had that before recently, haven't we? We've had that same point raised before.
It's just sometimes you just need to think it back and go, do you really need to have this sort of weird jazz tempo back in? And they weren't even giving you enough time to get into a particular a particular groove of it. So you suddenly get a groove and you'd be like, I've got that groove, and you're like, damn, but no, they switched again. And they're switching almost every bar almost at points. And I get that what they're trying to achieve. Yeah, I applaud them for their trying to go down a different route. The problem I would have is if that was a live show, I would have walked off to the toilet, to the bar, or gone outside. It would have been, if it was a Club 85 show, I'd have been outside for that one.
Papa John's moment.
Yeah, but there's so much potential there. There were some really good riffs in there. I was trying to sort of like really focus in on them, but by the time you focused in on it, they'd switched it again and gone on to another one. And I just was like, I just want them to stop for a second and just focus on it, because there probably was about 5 songs worth of material all in that one song.
It's a serious piece of art, Dave, this though, isn't it? I think we should say that.
It is.
You can trace this back to Stravinsky, or even take the Canadian avant-garde metal band Gorguts. That is really pushing boundaries. So they do come from that school. They want their art to be taken seriously. It is being taken seriously by us three. What we're saying is, unfortunately, because they've deliberately made sure that there's no Western aspect of melody in there, it's like listening to 5 minutes of someone scratching on cardboard, really, isn't it? I mean,
well, there were
what
elements.
can you get from that song?
When at one point I was just listening to it and I was just like, there were points, especially early on in the first sort of 2 minutes, when if I blotted out her vocals and just listened to the drums, bass, guitar, I was like, this has got elements of bands like Ginger. And I was like, yeah, I can hear Tatiana singing over that and going, yeah, I've got that kind of
to be fair, the guitar player for
death metal
dissonant passages.
There were some decent band, but I think that I'm trying to work out if they were just being a little bit too clever, or they're trying to be too clever at this point, and maybe they've just, instead of hitting that 100% mark, they've hit like 120, and they just should have brought that 20% back just to give you some solid 4 or 8 bar passages to lock in, and then go back off to these tricky bits. They just never let you in 5. If that had been 2.5 minutes, you'd almost give that a pass. But at 5 minutes 40, they never gave you a chance to really lock in on the song. And I don't know about you guys, I was at the 3-minute mark going, bloody hell, I've got 2.5 minutes more of this. And I don't know if I'm going to hear anything new. I didn't hear anything new in that last half a song. It was just more of what we'd already heard, and I felt if you're going to do almost a 6-minute song, you've got to give some variation to it. And what they did was they had about 18 different riffs of variation throughout, but they never gave you a chance to really enjoy them properly.
I don't think it felt like a bit like a PhD recital, because I get the impression, if you're a postgraduate music composer, you're not going to be judged on, are you writing a catchy song? Does it follow conventional songwriting structures? That would impress people who just want to listen to art that is trying to do something different.
Maybe.
I've got to say, though, I can't say there was much enjoyable about that.
I want to hear. Do you know what? I want to hear another song of theirs just to see if it's like that on all of them.
Can you imagine even 30 minutes of that? That would, as Andy said, that is unlistenable.
I didn't get any guitar. I mean,
that's probably because you've got little laptop speakers that shit.
No, it's because they're playing jazz chords in distortion. That's why.
The thing is, I can hear it, but then I've got studio speakers in front of me, so I've got a decent mix down here. So if you're on the laptop speakers, that is another problem. Is if you're on laptop speakers, you probably won't get much in the way of clarity on it. I don't know. I'd like to hear a little bit more of them just to kind of get an understanding, because there was just too much going on there for me to be able to enjoy it. But there's obviously...
Andy, what can you remember from that song other than the vocals?
Just what my description of the sound just seemed to be, I don't know.
Yeah, that was like choking
a slow moving airplane propeller. So, the air sound that something like that would create.
That's what Dissonance.
There was no melody. There was no guitar riff as far as I could hear. There's a few sort of breakdown sections, but as you said, Dave, it's gone in 2 bars, if that, onto something else. But,
Andy, you've perfectly described what dissonance is. In music theory, that they are notes that clash and form intervals that in Western music theory you would just avoid. But that's the whole point, isn't it, of this music? It's trying to create something discordant and make you feel agitated. Am I right?
Well, that's but then that's why I want to hear another song from them, because is this song specifically been done this way because of that? And would another song of theirs be more passage driven with more clearer riffs? Because this song was written specifically for this.
Any bands there alike too?
I would say Ulcerate is certainly a band that do this type of music. This is big in a lot of death metal now, Andy. That dissonant sound. This is anyone who's doing that jazz fusion with brutal death metal type style is going to be intruding upon it. I think Gorguts do probably have to answer for this. That 1998 album Obscura, a lot of it does come from that record, which I've got to say is groundbreaking, but even that is a fucking struggle. I think it's 70 minutes, that album.
Well, we've talked about this before, where we've talked about bands that are pushing boundaries, and I raised this before. At some point, you push that boundary too far. At some point, you're just because you're being creative and musically, you're like pushing boundaries, and we're doing something different. Doesn't mean it's always good.
Yeah.
You've gone too far down the other route. So that's why I reckon, because of the title of this song, maybe not all of their stuff is exactly like this. Maybe they've gone to an extreme level specifically for this song.
It does live up to the song title, even as
so maybe on the other songs because they had this song title, they specifically wrote something that was all dissonance because they wanted to do it, and it's called a symphony, the Defying Symphony of Dissonance. That makes a lot of sense now.
It might make sense for us to speak to this band to find out what the hell they're doing.
Anyway, if you like this video, please do like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the video sometime very soon. Take care.